And we are live. So welcome everyone. Thank you all for joining us this evening for our second of many conversations. Tonight's topic is art as a healing practice. My name is Curtis Young. I'm the Executive Director of Artistic Noise. This is our 20th year anniversary, so we wanted to do something different this year and highlight the perspectives in our programs from the stories our young people will tell through their art. So that is the purpose of this conversation this evening. We have one of our A&E alums, current participants, Samantha Cortez, in conversation with our art therapist, Victoria Hristoff. And hopefully you'll stick around for the entire talk this evening and join us next month. We are going to be talking about art and social justice. It'll be two of our board members in conversation with each other. Chloe Haywood, who is an art therapist and art educator from the Studio Museum in Harlem, in conversation with our board member, Rakeem Brooks, who is a campaign strategist at ACLU. So without further ado, I'm going to turn it over to Victoria to introduce Samantha and herself.
Okay, hi everyone. Thanks for joining us. So as Curtis mentioned, I'm Victoria, and we have the privilege to be here with Sam tonight. I started with Artistic Noise as an intern about a year ago, a little bit more than a year ago. I had worked on some special mural projects at SVA the year prior to, in the spring. So I've been in the Artistic Noise loop a little bit prior to me joining on as your therapist and program coordinator. So yeah, it's been really great. And I've had the pleasure to know Sam for almost like 2 years now, in one capacity or another. So yeah, Sam, do you want to share a little bit about how you got started with Artistic Noise and just introduce yourself to the group?
Hello everyone, I'm Sam. I've been in Artistic Noise since January of 2017. And Ebony actually introduced me to the Artistic Noise. I don't know if a lot of you know Ebony, but she used to work in Artistic Noise and she used to be a participant. And we met in an internship in Brooklyn for youth justice.
Totally, yeah.
I should also add that before I let you get started, that Samantha hired me as the executive director. Part of our mission is to really empower our young people and to give them the agency to lead and make decisions along with the staff. So Samantha was on the interview committee when I was a new applicant trying to work with Artistic Noise. Now I'm in my 4th year. So Samantha, thank you for hiring me. Hopefully I've led up to your expectations.
Thank you for coming on board, Curtis.
All right, cool.
So Sam, I feel like even in the about year and a half or 2 years that I've known you now, I've witnessed and have had the pleasure to witness so much growth just in that short amount of time. Can you talk a little bit about that growth and what it's been like, from the start up until this point with Artistic Noise? And then we can kind of jump into some artwork and have like some visual guides to your process as well.
Well, when I started Artistic Noise, I had just turned 17 and I had just gotten out of placement. And, Artistic Noise was an outlet for me to, get out the house and, just interact with people my age and just getting to do art in a platform I've never got to do art before. And throughout the years, it's really just been like a platform for me to remain stable. My life is pretty hectic, but, when I just am able to go to Artistic Noise, it's really relieving because I think this gives me a form of stability.
Totally. Yeah, and I think art can often sometimes be the most consistent things in our lives, right? Like the most stable, consistent. So that kind of leads us into the theme of our talk tonight, which is, art as a healing practice. So that's like a pretty big and abstract phrase. So I'm wondering, when you hear the phrase art as a healing practice, Sam, what comes to mind for you?
What comes to mind is really just being able to express myself in, ways that I might not be able to express myself with certain people, with my peers, with my family. It's just a way where I can express myself and only myself.
Definitely. Okay. So from there now, I'm going to pull up some artwork. And I really appreciate, Sam, like you taking the time to pick and choose which pieces you wanted to include in this talk. I think, you know, they really demonstrate a range and your growth as, you know, an individual and as a young woman. So can you all see that? I'm going to press present. Okay. So I have my questions kind of queued up here. So I'm curious, Sam, when did you make this piece with Artistic Noise?
That was my first piece when I entered Artistic Noise. It was with Nick as a teaching artist, and it was just my introduction into the Artistic Noise family.
So how was it for you to use these types of materials? We've talked previously about, you know, certain materials aren't always accessible to certain artists. So what was it like for you to experiment with sculpture?
Well, I've experimented with sculpture in the past with clay, but this was pretty new because we were using the clay as molds for cement.
Wow.
And I've never I've never used a saw before, and Nick was kind of teaching me how to use a saw and how to cut the wood panels. So it was, you know, it was pretty new for me, but it was something that, you know, it wasn't that hard to learn or to get comfortable with because I feel like I really enjoyed this project.
That's great. And I think a lot of times when new people come together and are trying something new simultaneously, it's a great way to build community, because if it's new for you and if it's new for the people around you, you guys can kind of learn together, right?
Yeah.
That's great. So what else do you want to share about this piece? Like when you look back on it, do you feel like it still resonates with you? Does it still feel true to your practice now?
At the time, I think I was 17. Yes, I was 17 at the time, and it was just a really weird time for me because I was just back in my home, you know, being left from placement. And what really just made me feel good was just coming to Artistic Noise and doing this artwork, this project. It gave me time to just forget about school and not
Mhm.
so much just the project, but just, you know, being able to come to the space and feel
Yeah.
comfortable with everybody who was in the space. Because myself, I adapt pretty quickly, but I am very shy when I meet new people. So I was able to break out of my shell quickly because people in the space just made me feel comfortable.
Yeah, I think it's great, like, you know, the opportunity to have that space for yourself and for your peers is so important, because without that space, like, there's not necessarily the comfortability or the safety to express yourself, experiment with new materials, and build those relationships. Um, so yeah, that's great, Sam. Okay. So now I'm going to move on to our next piece. So with this piece, Sam, I've seen it in the office before, and it's really striking. It's a really powerful painting. But when I got the digital file, I saw that it was accompanied with this poem. So did you want to talk about the painting first, or did you want to maybe read the poem?
Well, first I just want to add to the painting that it was a two-panel project. So, you know, the other canvas my father had bought, and it's I really didn't want to focus on that part of the panel. I really wanted to just focus on this one, but I just wanted to add that it was part of a dual project. And I'm gonna read what I wrote now. Puppet person, take me to a dark alley, but then free me in my dreams. Open my eyes, but only darkness surrounds the scene. I'm being controlled by puppet strings. My personalities hold the leverage. Getting caught in every swing. getting lost in everything. And when I come back down, I fly in my dreams. I only go high enough to find a new me.
So Sam, how does the poem relate to the painting?
Well, there's three different people. There's three different people in the painting, and basically they're all my personalities. The back is obviously me, but not bald. And then the second one, well, the middle one is basically a skeleton, and I feel like, you know, the skeleton is really a front for me, because, you know, skeleton doesn't have any facial expressions, and I feel like a lot of times when people meet me or they see me for the first time, they think I'm really serious, and I'm not serious. I'm just reserved. And then the flowers, you know, the person hiding behind the flowers is just me being shy. And, you know, I mentioned that a little bit earlier, that, you know, I am a shy person. I emerged from my shell, but like I said, I can be very reserved, even though I don't show it.
Yeah, I think this painting does a really excellent job of like capturing the different masks, you know, that you feel like you could put on, right? The different faces we wear. But you bring up a good point, Sam, about when you say shyness or coming out of your shell, because I feel like I've known you in such a leadership role. Like, you do have such a strong voice in the organization and in the group. And I feel like even between the portrait, the sculpture that we just looked at, to this painting, you can feel that sort of shift to a bolder voice.
Yeah. They were made a few months apart. Well, kind of. We started that one, I believe, in the beginning of the 2018-2019 cycle. And the other one was, no, I'm wrong, 2017-2018 cycle. And then the mural, not the mural, the sculpture was during the 2016-2017 cycle.
Okay, cool. That's awesome. So this metaphor of hiding, like this forest is like so lush. How did you kind of plan that, what's the word I'm looking for? That background? How did you plan the, like the orientation of the piece? Did that just kind of come intuitively?
Well, actually, for the project itself, our drafting actually came from collage. It was a collage.
Oh, wow.
So I think the bottom photo, I actually took it. It was inspired from like this Tumblr theme photo, and I believe they were flowers. They were the flowers, but I wanted to add the skeleton, and I added me with the shirts. And I happened to be wearing, I used to have that shirt. I don't know what happened to it, but it was inspired by a shirt I was wearing.
So that's cool. So you kind of cut and paste a little bit. Sorry, I interrupted you. Keep going.
And then the forest, not the flowers. The forest was another piece. I believe it was just one page, and it was a road. And that was my background. And then the people in front.
Awesome. And you made this with acrylic paint?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. And had you had experience using acrylics before?
Yeah, I'm pretty familiar with acrylics. I feel like painting was one of my main mediums, but now I'm more into just using Sharpies.
That's cool. What do you think that shift was, you know, from, and we'll see it in your artwork in the next two slides, but what do you think that shift was in material choice for you?
I feel like, you know, with paint, it has to dry and you have to wait. Even though acrylic dries really fast, I feel very, I'm kind of impatient. So I feel like when I use the Sharpie, it gives me the patience to actually pick out the colors that I want and just decide how I'm going to fit them into my piece, like a puzzle.
Oh, that's awesome. So it's kind of like you start with the colors and you figure out how they're going to fit into the piece.
Yeah, and vice versa. Sometimes the color just ends up in the piece. Because what I like to do, I try to use my imperfections to perfect it. It's something that I think I've mentioned to you before.
Yeah.
That I'm a perfectionist. So a way to help me derive from that was just using those imperfections to make the piece great.
Absolutely. That's awesome. Okay, so let's jump into the next piece. One sec. There we go. Okay. So now this piece is a bit more recent. This was a project that we worked on together in the spring, in the midst of COVID, during your pregnancy, and when you had moved to Puerto Rico. So, you know, the prompt was about surrealism, about dreams, and you actually created this piece on fabric, right?
Yeah.
So what can you share with us about some of the symbols in this piece, about the landscapes? And then from there, we can talk about the materials and your process.
Well, if you focus in the middle of the pillowcase, because it's a pillowcase, it's a heart, like being cut open, but instead of you seeing it from the outside, you're viewing it from the inside of your subconscious. And I try to add, you know, a few of things that were going on in my life, things that, you know, have happened to me in the past. Like the buildings represent me being from the city. And then I added the palm trees with the water. And if you look to the left, or that's the right, I'm sorry, to the right, you'll see a tree. And, you know, for the first time you look at it, a lot of people tell me that it's a beautiful tree, but actually the tree has no branches. It's an empty tree, but in the background is a mountain with the water flowing down the back and to the side. And, you know, it reminds me of sometimes I feel empty inside. I feel very isolated, but the mountain in the background is like artistic noise, giving me that support that I need to make me, you know, feel like they just give me the support and the opportunities that I wouldn't have, or that any other person or youth in the city have, you know? I'm given an opportunity that not many people have. And those mountains creating the illusion of the tree having branches is the support that artistic noise gives me.
Yeah, it's a really strong illusion, Sam, because I've spent a lot of time, I've had the privilege of spending a lot of time looking at this really, really vibrant and striking piece. And it wasn't until you and I met this morning or this afternoon, and you brought that up about how the tree itself doesn't physically have any leaves growing out of it, that greenery is all on the mountain behind it. And that's just like such a striking symbol. That's kind of emphasized by your style. So in your artist statement that, you know, you released for our virtual exhibition this summer, you had stated that, you know, your artist name is Bayanese and you want your artwork to travel, that you want, no matter where anyone is in the world, to recognize your style and to be like, that's Bayanese. So could you share with me a little bit about how that is present in this piece? Maybe with the background, with how you used your materials?
Well, in the background, you see the stripes, and I actually do this a lot in my pieces. If any of you were in the 2017 to 2018 mural cycle, you'll remember the coloring book I did as the piece, and I just went around and around with a whole bunch of different colors. And to make that illusion of the dreamy effect with the colors, I actually sprayed it with alcohol along with the water. I mixed the colors up and sprayed it with alcohol because, in 20 years, we're going to look back and be like, we had a lot of alcohol, and I'm going to be the only one that says I actually used it in my artwork.
Right, because you were saying all the hand sanitizer we had on deck, right?
Yeah. I was trying to figure out how I was going to make it look like dreamy, because at first it was all like, whoa, it's there. But when I sprayed it with alcohol, it actually blended the colors out because it's not Sharpie, it's actually studio markers from Blick.
Nice. Because those have a tendency to have that sort of blendy effect, right? Like they bleed a little bit more.
Mm-hmm. And then lastly, one of the symbols that I used in the piece was actually the hand. My grandmother is Puerto Rican, and she was born in Puerto Rico, so I felt like I had to include something that, was really a really interesting experience in my life. When I was 13, she had passed away about a day before Thanksgiving. And when I was asleep, I was sleeping on the couch on Thanksgiving, waiting for my family to come get us to go to their house for Thanksgiving. I kept feeling this hand touch me. And when I would open my eyes and wake up, there was nobody touching me. And every time I tried to go back to sleep, it just kept touching me. So I include a hand a lot in my pieces,
Yeah.
in past pieces that I might have left. I believe I left a few of them at SVA, but it's something that comes up a lot in my pieces.
Yeah, I remember back at SVA in February or March now, we had talked about this symbol of the black hand and how it represented, kind of your grandmother's spirit. And I'm curious, like, you did make this piece when you were in Puerto Rico, and, you moved to Puerto Rico, shortly after the pandemic started. Did you feel like there was more cultural influences in your artwork that you were making while you were there?
I wouldn't say cultural influences, but more of family influences. Sorry about that. And I'm starting to recognize more that on top of the family that I have, I'm going to be making a family of my own, because I was there to give birth to my son.
Yeah. Yeah, the theme of family, I think, is pretty powerful in your work, and is clear in our next piece and our final piece here. Hold on, my computer is kind of slow. There we are. So talk to us about this piece. It's so visually powerful, and I feel like it really does have like this electric feeling to it, both because of the color, but also the two figures, and that pattern again, right? That Bayanese specific pattern that we see. So what can you share with us about this piece, Sam?
This piece is of me pregnant with my son and my sister. And when I was making this piece, me and my sister, I was in Puerto Rico and my sister was here in New York. And I feel like we were, talking a lot while I was there, because I missed her a lot. And, I really love my sister. And I feel like even though we're not always together, or we might not always, see eye to eye, that love that I have for my sister is always there, and it's very vibrant. Even though it may not be the first thing that each of us see, I definitely love her a lot, and she was on my mind a lot while I was in Puerto Rico. And I feel like my son was going to bring us together, and is bringing us more together than before.
Yeah. And I, like, I see like the physical connection in this piece. And it's interesting how sometimes, you know, distance, like you being in Puerto Rico and you being pregnant with Judah, how that, you know, did kind of bring up for you a lot of the stuff about closeness and family. And that's like really visually apparent in this piece. So you used gouache and marker on this as well. What is this created on, Sam?
This was created on a canvas.
Okay.
Yeah. And is gouache watercolor?
So gouache is a water-based paint and it's water soluble, so you can like thin it down with water.
Because I also use watercolor in this piece.
Oh, nice.
I the people, me and my sister, I went in with a few different shades of like, I don't remember if it was crayon or color pencil, but I kind of used like a light yellow, then a little darker yellow, and then an orange. And then to give it that kind of like papery effect, I tapped it with like a oranges watercolor.
And can you walk us through like your process of like how you started the piece? Like, did you do the figures first? Which figure did you start with?
I started with me.
Okay.
I always like to do my hair, but every time I do a piece, you know, I have one image in mind of how it should turn out, and it doesn't turn out like that at all. I don't remember how it started, but this is how it finished. And you know, a painting really isn't ever done. It's just where you chose to leave off. So then I added my sister, and me and my sister have two completely different hair types. Mine is like extremely curly and hers is more of wavy. But I wanted to, you know, capture the essence of us, because a lot of people say that we look alike, but if you ask me and my sister, like, we look nothing alike to us. But I feel like in some ways people are right, because she is my sister. They wouldn't be saying that just for no reason. And then the vibrations came after I completed me and my sister. And then I went in with my hair with like a Sharpie. Like everywhere there was like a white mark, I went in with a black marker. And I started with yellow. Then I added orange, then I added brown to the hair. So I kind of like layered it for me. And then for her, I would go in with one color like a few times, and I would go in with another color, then back to that color, then another color. Then for my son, I kind of just looked up an image on Google, and because I really didn't know how I would draw him at first, but I feel like I enjoy the way it turned out. And then the same thing that I did for my hair with the black dots, I did in the background. Everywhere you see a little black line was a white mark that the marker mix, magic marker. So I kind of just filled it in with the like, I think that was like a black kind of marker or like a fabric pen.
Yeah. And above where you have Judah, did you like glue that gem on?
Yeah, I did.
Yeah, when you were in Puerto Rico, you were using, I feel like, a lot more beads and collage materials too. And we had made a mask together.
Yeah, I was only really able to use the supplies that you guys had sent me. I like used it to my advantage because I wasn't able to, you know, buy my own supplies out there a lot.
Yeah. Definitely like a great degree of like resourcefulness as a good theme too. And like your flexibility and the way you use such diverse materials, but still manage to have a distinct style is like pretty powerful, that you can, you know, this is made differently than this, but they still feel like, oh, that's Sam's work. That's Sam's hand. And you called the background vibrations, and now that just makes so much sense. Like that should have been the word I was using all along, right? That these are vibrations. And the piece feels so full. There's really not any blank space.
Yeah, I really was trying not to have any blank space, mainly because I was just trying to occupy myself. But I feel like, because during this whole quarantine, we're like in between binging and eating and just figuring out how we're going to occupy our time.
Totally. So do you think that like during COVID and during your pregnancy that art making was a coping skill for you? Like a way for you to like occupy your time? Or do you think it was like, oh, because you created this like unprompted, like this wasn't like an artistic noise assignment?
I feel like, yes, they were used as a coping skill, but it was mainly in the heat of a moment kind of thing. Like, once, I was into the piece, I didn't stop it really. I might have taken breaks here and there to nap because I was tired, but it was really start to finish. I think I finished this piece in like 3 or 4 days.
Oh, wow. So would you say you typically work pretty fast?
No.
Okay.
I think it was just the resourcefulness of quarantine and having time on my hands, because I don't know, I feel like that now that we're in quarantine, I want to go out a lot, and before quarantine, like, you wouldn't even catch me out of my bed.
Yeah.
But it's different now because I'm a mom and I can't just be in bed all day. He's not gonna let that happen.
Nope. So let's talk about that a little bit, how your identity, like, you have all these new roles. It's not just Sam, the A&E participant, Sam, the friend, Sam, the artist. Now it's Samantha, the mom as well. How has this new role kind of impacted the way you approach art and your identity as an artist?
Well, right now, I really haven't been making any art, but because I have a lot of things on my hand with, being a mom, making sure I attend A&E, helping my dad. It's really just put a setback to the art making right now, but, I have been venturing on like a business thing I've been wanting to do. It's called Bay Sugar Skulls, and it's really just gonna be like beauty wellness kind of business where I want to make body oils and body butter, cuticle oils, just things for self-care, which we probably need the most right now because after this whole thing is over, a lot of us are going to need moisturizer because our hands are going to be so dried out from the sanitizer.
That's true. That's a good point. And it's funny you say that like you haven't been making art, but every week, 3 times a week in Audrey's sessions at A&E, you've been making some really incredible comics and drawings.
Yeah, definitely that, but more of like a personal note. I haven't really been inspired lately. Like, I've been having prompts from him, but nothing really has been inspiring me to do anything on my own time.
That's fair. And I feel like there's a collective feeling right now with where we're at with the pandemic that it's really hard to stay self-motivated with art making, with other, things that are deemed productive. So that's super valid, but I'm not gonna lie, your comics have been really impressive. And I'm curious, like, seeing that you do now have such a great experience using markers and more like illustrative techniques. Do you think that maybe pieces like this here with your sister kind of helped you with your skill set of creating comics in our workshops now?
Making comics is something that not comics, but the cartoony image. I've been trying to master my own look for a very long time. And I really didn't know how to do it. And then feel like 2018, I was horrible at drawing eyes. But then I kind of just, one day I did it without, you know, having an idea, okay, this is what eyes are supposed to look like. I just did it how I felt like it was supposed to be. And that's how I got the way my eyes look.
Yeah, and I
And
think that's like a fun thing about specifically comics, that you can kind of do something that hints to a certain thing, right? Like it doesn't need to be rendered like the most realistic eye ever, but if you get like the impression or the feeling of an eye, then it's like convincing enough, right?
yeah, definitely.
That's awesome. Okay, so can you share with us a little bit about, you know, these next steps? So you're a mama, you're back in New York for the time right now. How is it being back in New York after like the first chunk of the pandemic? You know, like you left, I'd say like what, February, March, and you're back like 8-9 months later as a mama. How has that adjustment been for you?
It's very interesting. Just traveling with my son.
Hmm.
You know, I'm responsible for somebody other than myself. And there are a lot of times where I'm thinking to myself, oh, I don't know what I'm doing. Like, they really let me leave the hospital with a baby. But, you know, there's a lot of times where I don't give myself credit. And, you know, I feel like when I went to Puerto Rico, I did it with the intention of just, you know, figuring out what I want his life to be like and how I'm going to provide the best life for him while I was pregnant.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like I'm still doing that now. You know, I feel like I don't have it all together, but I just need to figure it out. His portion of what to do. And, you know, for myself, you know, I'm still growing. I'm still on a journey where, you know, things aren't always going to be perfect, but my son makes it perfect for me.
It's really beautiful. And it's been awesome to like walk alongside you on this journey and really witness your growth, both creatively and personally. I'm so excited for the Bay Sugar Skulls. You want to talk a little bit about your logo? Because I was lucky enough to get a glimpse during one of our meetings the other day, but how's that been going for you? Because now you're jumping into like digital media.
Yeah, I've been playing around with an app that I found because, you know, we're on our phones all the time. Might as well make use out of it. And I was just practicing with the app and just trying to get comfortable with it. And it was really, I really love skulls. That's my thing. Like, have you seen in the other piece that was there?
Yeah, I can go back to
Skulls
that.
are really my thing. It's my favorite thing. If I have like a little collection, I got like a skull snow globe. I made a coffin with glitter, and I had a skeleton inside. And then I have like this little figurine that I got from Kalahari. Then when I went with my mom and my sister, and I saved up all my tickets just for the skulls.
That's
I
awesome.
really love skulls, and yeah.
It's a powerful symbol. It's a powerful image. Yeah, and I think you do a really great job, Sam, of incorporating symbols in your artwork and incorporating your personal aesthetic in your hand, and illustrating a lot of like important things in a visually beautiful way. Is there anything else you want to add about any of these pieces before we kind of open up the last 15 minutes for questions?
No, but I just want to thank everybody in Artistic Noise, from you to Curtis to Nick, Sophia, you know, the alums, Francesca, And my family, my mom, my dad, my sister, and my son.
Awesome. All
Well,
right.
thank you, Samantha. You have been just a pleasure to work with and getting to know you and seeing your growth. You've grown so much since the time we first met. Your work has evolved, and how you express yourself about your work and share your thoughts have also evolved. And I look forward to continuing to work with you and to see you grow in leadership as you are now part of the 20th anniversary committee and taking the lead there. We're telling that story. So I'm really looking forward to learning from you now as a leader within our organization. So thank you for sharing your art with the world today. And thank you, Victoria, for moderating.
Absolutely.
Are there any questions from the attendees, the people who are in the chat?
Yes.
Mm-hmm. I can read the one from Eliana. She said, do you have a favorite art to mess with, meaning like medium, like sculptures, oils, acrylic?
Mine is definitely using Sharpies. Sharpies are my favorite thing to use. They're convenient, they're easy. Why? Because they're just really easy. You know, paint, I have to take a whole bunch of paints with me. But with Sharpies, I could just whip them out wherever I am, on the train, on the plane, in artistic noise, in my house, with the doctor waiting for him. Do anything.
That's a good point. They're very handy.
Yeah.
Yes, they are.
And I always have a pen or a pencil with me because of it.
Yeah. Sam, do you carry around with you like a sketchbook?
I don't carry around a sketchbook with me, but I do have plenty of sketchbooks. Like if I'm in the mood to, do art, I will take a sketchbook with me, but I'm not really prone to taking around sketchbooks with me.
Okay, cool.
So there seems to be a question from Jada. Jada says, what is your favorite artistic noise memory?
Aw.
Ooh. My favorite artistic noise memory. I think it would definitely have to be my first gallery with artistic noise, where we were downtown in the NYU building, and I was really going around, just I believe I was doing little tours and talking about the different artworks that we had, and just curating the the space with the other participants, and having Nick show us how to put up the pieces. I just really enjoyed it because it was something that I've never done before, and I'm grateful to have an opportunity like this.
That's awesome. Cool.
Are there any other questions from anyone watching out there in cyber world?
I'm gonna scroll up and see if I missed anything. Oh, one new message from Audrey. Do you feel like art making prepared you in any way for motherhood? Ooh, hard-hitting questions.
Good question.
Art making itself, I don't think it prepared me for motherhood, but I feel like artistic noise itself prepared me for motherhood, because even before I was even pregnant, I feel like artistic noise gave me stability. That's something artistic noise definitely gave me, something that I can look forward to, something that, I wasn't like, you have to do this, Samantha. It was something that I took time out of at first it was Wednesdays and Thursdays of A&E, but it was just 2 days where I took the initiative to go out. And I feel like it's helped me to be disciplined for my son.
That makes a razor tear to my eye, Samantha. That's so great. That's so amazing to hear you say that. It really makes what we do so much more meaningful to hear a young person say what you just said. So thank you so much for sharing that.
For sure. I wish, we were able to have it open to more, youth in the city.
We're trying.
Like we need a bigger platform for it.
Yes, we're working on that. But there is a question now that just popped up. It says, if you had unlimited money, what type of art piece would you make and how big?
Ooh.
If I had unlimited money,
Resources, unlimited resources.
I feel like the art piece I would give would be to the the youth in placement programs and giving them an outlet to express themselves.
So you would use it for yourself. You would kind of use it for other people who were in placement.
Hmm.
How large of a project or how big would it be? This is from an anonymous attendee, so I'm not sure who's posing the question.
I would go to as many placements as I can and just, you know, give I would like to just expand artistic noise with that money and give them an opportunity to do work and then give them the option to potentially come on to A&E post discharge.
Mhm. So Rick poses a good question. In addition to working on your solo work, what has it been like working collaboratively with other artistic noise participants? So your fellow program participants. What have you learned from each other?
Working with, everybody in artistic noise, it's been very interesting because every year there's a new set of participants. So it's been just a new set of people that are brought onto the family, but we also have to, obviously get comfortable with. And I feel like when we do the SVA murals, that's like a great introduction into getting to know one another and getting comfortable with one another because we bounce off of each other's ideas to create the theme for that year's mural.
Yeah.
And then we both venture out into our murals and I feel like we just joke around and even though we're getting work done, we're still bonding with one another.
And how has that been during the virtual workshop space we're now currently in?
I feel like I met everybody in person, honestly.
Yeah,
I
that's
just feel
great.
so comfortable with everybody. Obviously, there's some people that I already know, but the new people that came on, we're just very comfortable with one another. Vic always tells us, "Come on, guys, let's get back to focusing." But I'm glad that we all feel comfortable with one another like that.
And the groups are not always completely new. We add on to the groups each year, right? So it's not completely all new participants each year, right?
Yeah.
Mm.
It's like the family keeps growing a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
You have a question, Victoria, in the chat box.
So Myra asks, can you elaborate more on your statement? I start with an image in mind, but it never turns out that way. They're wondering what goes through your mind and how does that get transformed to 3D?
Well, I feel like when I'm doing a piece, it reflects what goes on in life because everybody has, an idea of how they want things to turn out. But, things aren't always going to turn out how you imagine. It always is like it rolls with the punches. It ends up the way it ends up. And you might have an outline of what you want to happen, but you never know what's the finished product until the night is over.
Mm-hmm.
That's great.
Great.
Powerful that you work so intuitively, Sam. For sure.
Well, I want to once again thank you, Victoria, for facilitating this important conversation, and thank you, Samantha, for giving us your time this evening. And I wish we had a little picture of your son, but maybe we'll see. You'll show him later through your
He'll be
art.
back.
Okay, cool. All right. So thank you all who are those who are out there in Facebook land watching. Like I said before, this is our 20th anniversary and we're launching this conversation series. There'll be many more each month. Our next conversation will be with our board members discussing the topic of art and social justice. So we hope that you subscribe to our newsletter and join us next month for that very important conversation on art and social justice. And thank you all and have a great evening.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank
Bye.
you, everyone. Thank you, Sam. Seriously, amazing work.